Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and I are partners, exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. I was in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada this last weekend, and I went to an ATM and put my card in so that I could get some money to make some photocopies for a class that I was teaching at a conference. And I stuck that card in there, put in my code, and out came two $20 bills, Canadian $20 bills. And they're fascinating. You can see through them. There's a clear spot, and just real kind of sharp look. And I think our money's kind of unimaginative here in the United States. And I was looking at this, and I was told by people that there's a lot of symbolism in the Canadian money that's kind of cool. And sure enough, that turned out to be true. The national motto is in Latin, MARE usque at MARE. And it comes from the book of Psalms from 3,000 years ago that David wrote in Hebrew during that time of the explosion of alphabetic script. And here's the passage it's taken from. He shall have dominion, that's the Lord shall have dominion also from sea to sea. And that's MARE usque ad MARE, from sea to sea. And from the river unto the ends of the earth. And that's Psalm 72, verse 8. And King George of England in 1921, who's also, of course, the King of Canada, as Elizabeth is the Queen of Canada right now, by royal proclamation in 1921 said that this will be the national motto of Canada. From sea to sea, he shall have dominion, and we call it, of course, the Dominion of Canada. This is also on the passports of Canada. MARE usque ad MARE. The Lord shall have dominion from sea to sea. And we have these biblical beginnings of our North American nations. If you've ever been to see the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, there is a Bible verse encircling the very top of the bell. And it is from Leviticus 25:10. Proclaim liberty. Proclaim liberty to all of the inhabitants of the land. And also on the dollar bill, it says, Annuit Keptis. And you might have wondered, what does that mean? It means that he waves, winks, or approves of our endeavor. There's a sense to which that in nation building and putting together our sense of who we are, and even in 12-step groups, it really helps to appeal to a higher power. And we don't have to agree exactly on the theology of that higher power for national purposes or 12-step purposes. We don't have to get all precise as we would in a seminary, a Bible school, or a Jewish school of theological learning, a rabbinical school. But the truth is, some reference to a higher power seems necessary for putting together a large endeavor or a big personal transformation. And this seems to have always been the case. Thomas Jefferson wanted to make sure that our rights were grounded in the gift of a creator. We are endowed by our creator, capital C, with certain unalienable rights. And the President Obama, in the beginning of his speech, his inauguration acceptance speech, used this phrase and talked about how we get our rights from God. And we swear our presidents in with Bibles. Not all the time, but most of the time. And the current president had Lincoln's Bible and Martin Luther King's Bible when he was sworn in. We want to think that our values rest in something that is beyond us. And once again, I don't believe that we have to agree exactly on what that something is, but without that something, we have nothing, because what we have then is just a bunch of opinions. And whatever the majority thinks is going to be true. But we know the majority is going to be wrong, and we want to appeal to a higher goodness. Have you read The Blackberry Bush? At the moment the Berlin Wall falls, a boy and a girl are born on opposite sides of the world. Do they share a destiny? Do we all share the same destiny? Come on a treasure hunt through the landscape of your soul. BlackberryNovel.com. I was a philosophy student in college, and for my final paper, I had a choice of writing an ethical paper on utilitarianism or a deontological system. Now, those are the two main schools of thought in ethics. Utilitarian thought is, well, the rules are put together with social contract more or less just for the better good of society. And a deontological system is, well, hey, this is a system that acknowledges that certain things are right, certain things are wrong, natural law. Murder is always wrong, etc. Well, that seems close-minded, and it seems like utilitarianism is much more pragmatic, so I chose utilitarianism for my paper. But by the time I finished my paper, I realized that utilitarianism does not work. Because who's to decide and to define what good is, the better good? Well, that would be a deontological definition. In other words, what I mean by that is, at some point you have to appeal to something bigger than yourself. And without doing so, we are subject to the whims of personal opinion going back and forth. Grounding ourselves in something bigger than ourselves makes for a lot of success in life. It helps a lot, for instance, in a marriage, that we believe that the institution of marriage is bigger than the two people coming together in a simple contract. Marriage itself is something we live into and grow into, and I'm absolutely certain that people who believe that have longer, more prosperous, and closer marriages, and healthier marriages. So appealing to something bigger. Why has it become almost taboo to do that anymore in the United States? A mare usque ad mare. Anduit ceptus. Proclaim liberty throughout the land, and to all the inhabitants thereof. I believe, and I'm going to continue to talk about this in the days, weeks, months, and years to come, that true liberty comes out of a sense of grounding in a created order. Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work, or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.